I'm laying out a web page for Hopper, one of our avatars here on Khan Academy. It's got an image, some cool links, and a paragraph. I think that this picture of Hopper would look better next to the paragraph, so I'm going to cut and paste it down here. Okay, that doesn't look as good as I hoped it would. The text starts at the bottom of the image. I was hoping that the text would wrap around the image, like in newspapers and magazines. We'll need a new CSS property for that, float. It's a way of floating elements in and around other elements, and it's perfect for wrapping text around images. So we go up to our pick rule and say float, and then for the value, we need to decide if we want the picture to float to the left-hand side or the right-hand side. Let's try left. Great. Perfect. Well, okay, not quite perfect, because the text is really close to the image. Do you remember what property we should use to separate the text from the image? It's part of the box model, which we just learned. Margin. Let's add some margin right and margin bottom to this image to give it a little breathing room. Let's see, margin bottom, 6 pixels. Okay, that's much better. We can also float elements that aren't images. Like if we want something like a sidebar. Let's what about this list of links? We could take this list of links and float it to the right. So let's add a rule for Hopper's links. Float it to the right. Okay, it's floating, but it's taking up a lot of width, more than I was hoping to take up. So let's restrict the width to 30%. So it'll always take up 30% of the page, and the rest of the page will fill in the remaining 70%. Generally, whenever we float a div, we have to give it a width, because otherwise divs try to take up all of the space and nothing can wrap around them. Seems like it also needs a little bit of a margin left too. Okay. Oh, notice the footer at the bottom with the contact info for Hopper. It's doing this weird thing where it's overlapping with a sidebar, and that's because it's wrapping. We don't want our footer to wrap though. We want it to always be on the bottom of everything because it's a footer. To make it not wrap, we can use the clear property and put clear both. We could use clear left or clear right if we only wanted to not wrap around right floating elements or left floating elements, but usually we want to not wrap around any floating elements, so we say clear both. This is starting to look like a real web page. We have a main area, a sidebar, a footer. In fact, you now know the CSS properties that make most web page layouts happen. Put together some divs with width, height, margin, padding, float, and clear, and there are all sorts of web page layouts at your fingertips.